Hey guys, it's Orlando with Filmatic, and we got and
Christian.
and we're here hanging out once again, just going over. We're reviewing and actually reacting to something that we're watching. A person that a lot of people follow, which is the P. McKinney, the guy that kills it on the YouTubes, and everyone knows him as a cinematographer. Well, no, actually, they know him as a photographer that became like
YouTube.
the guy that made crispy, buttery, and all kinds of cool
Cinematic
cinematics,
B-roll.
B-roll. So he's a guy that a lot of people aspire to. I worked with him once. We were able to produce a big project with him, and it's kind of cool to see because a lot of people follow this guy, and he actually got to sit down with the guy named Mark Bone. I didn't know Mark Bone. Do you know Mark Bone?
Yeah, I watch Mark Bone. That's
he
like one
more
of my
YouTuber?
YouTubers now.
Oh, okay.
But he's more like actual. I hate to say it, but an actual filmmaker.
Okay.
Kind of like how I listen to you,
Yeah.
and I go to YouTube, and I'm like, dang, this don't connect.
Yeah.
Because you actually do it, and YouTubers do YouTube. It's different.
Yeah. And you know a little bit about. I mean, you've seen some of the YouTubers and stuff that we work with, right?
I have. But I mostly watch like soccer highlights on YouTube.
Soccer highlights, yeah.
So this is very different.
Yeah.
Well, but here's the other thing: is you actually make films too.
I work on sets, and I've gaffed a couple of projects here and there.
And you're a director too.
Yeah.
So
I know the workflow of a set and how things work on a set.
And also how to attack a thing. So this was really interesting. I watched it the other day, but I don't think you've seen it, and you definitely haven't seen it since you don't watch half this stuff anyways. But we're gonna play it back, and we're just gonna go through it. Here we go.
Now, if you ask 16-year-old Pete if he ever thought he would be making an Angels and Airwaves documentary, the answer would be no, and I'd probably pass out and never wake up. I'm just realizing it was a far bigger undertaking than I had ever anticipated. So I think now it might be time to enlist a little bit of help from some individuals.
I wouldn't
that
ask a
specialize-
16-year-old kid anything.
Yeah.
If you were to ask 16-year-old, like, man, go to school, man.
Yeah, go to school and do something with your life, right? Yeah.
Don't become a filmmaker.
Yeah, learn how to count.
What is a YouTube?
Yeah. All right. He's talking about a documentary that he's working on for Angel and Airwaves. If y'all know
Oh,
Angel
Joe.
and Airwaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he got hired a while back to do this documentary for them, and we're talking about. I think now, you have to think pre C word. That almost like the world stopped for those two years. So like anything that you thought was gonna take a year to do, like all of a sudden turned to 3 years, right? So
Mark's got a really great channel diving into literally every facet of documentaries. Everything from A to Z when it comes to that very niche within filmmaking. And as a lot of you guys know, I'm making a documentary right now. It's been taking a long time, and for good reason. We're gonna get into that, but I legitimately wanted to enlist Mark's help to make my documentary better. This guy already, within the first 5 seconds of being here, watching the cut I have on the Angels and Airwaves film, in the first minute, he hit pause.
first off, how much does that suck? You work on something for 2 years, and then 1 minute in, they just stop it real quick. Like,
It's the same thing as when you're showing someone a short film you did, and they tap the screen to see how long is left.
yeah, the double tap. Oh man, look.
Okay, if it's worth it, they're like, all right, we're
I've seen that before, but I've done it before to people too, man. It's pretty bad.
I was gonna say that. That's me every time I show you an edit.
Yeah.
You be like, it looks nice, but maybe you should. I'm like,
How long is it, man? How long is it? All right, here.
It's garbage now.
Not
We're starting
You're
over.
so close.
We're starting over. So let's talk about how long does a typical documentary take to make? I approach it like a YouTube video. I've just kind of assumed right off the bat it would take a few months.
I mean, that's like asking
You approached a documentary for a leading band, like a band that's, Angel and Airwaves, they're not the biggest band in the world. A lot of people know of them. But of course, the guy was from Blink-182, which is a global name. Everybody knows Blink-182 or knows at least 2 or 3 songs from them. Angel and Airwaves, not so much. But still, that's a pretty big band. And you're doing their documentary, but you approached it like a YouTube video.
not even, bro.
And you said a little bit about this, right? Like YouTube world and video world, or even documentary filmmaking, which is a niche of filmmaking, is a whole other beast. So I brought 'em on.
also a perspective could be that they specifically wanted a YouTube look because Angel and Airwaves, Blink-182 have always been against the grain kind of thing. And if you see their videos, you're like, dude, they had like porn stars in their videos and whatnot. So they've always been against that. Yeah, let's just do that kind of thing. So it could have been that's what they wanted.
Bro, that to me
I
sounds
wonder.
even more profound than what happens here because it tells you already like you're thinking beyond what these guys are thinking. This guy, well, let's keep watching.
It's like asking, like, how long is a piece of string? Documentaries are about life. Life needs to unfold. You can't speed up life. I mean, if you try to force a documentary to life to happen quicker, it's going to be, is it disingenuine or not non-genuine?
I mean, that was good. That was real good.
Yeah.
We could end the video.
Yeah,
on
there you
that.
go. And it just
Things
takes.
disingenuous.
I mean, it's the same. It's just two different ways of saying it.
Right, disingenuous.
Yeah, it's
Would you say
disingenuous.
disingenuine,
If you do say
or you
it's,
just say not genuine.
Not genuine. Me.
it's not genuine, but I think it's the act of being
Right, the
disingenuine
act, yeah.
is disingenuous.
But that was the question,
I believe.
So yeah,
I might be wrong.
But I think that's cool. Like just saying, the whole timing, the time and the amount of
man.
time that you put into it. Any documentary that I've worked on normally is done over a couple of years. Like we'll go shoot one thing, then they come back and they want to find out what happened to them.
There you go. And
Keep
it just
going.
takes time and takes consistency. And I watch people trying to outsource their documentaries. We even spoke about this.
Do I just get another editor for this entirely? And then, so there's something being made? Like, I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to run like a channel and like another business. And it just gets to the point where you're thinking like, oh yeah, I got to finish that because people are.
So that's a big one there, right? Like
Doing too much.
Yeah, doing way too much just in general because like for us, like we actually go out and we work. So that's why we don't upload every week, So we try to shoot as much as we can. I mean, we have several that we've shot that we haven't edited because when we go back, we see like, hey, we did those a little bit too rushed and they don't fit the vibe or what we're trying to show, because we like showing you us being genuine about what we do and what we just the way that we are.
I think we talked about this just earlier, kind of like a lot of interactions are not genuine because they're rushed.
Right.
Like people don't take patience.
Right.
And it shows in everything you do. If you don't take your time, it's just not genuine.
And I just had someone call me up and they're like, hey, I need some help just on consulting. Someone's calling me to see if I can edit and color their film. And I said, do you advertise that? And she was like, well, no. I'm like, then how they find you? Like they saw my cinematography stuff. Hey, if they think by you editing that it's going to look like you shoot, like you're both already wrong, like in taking that job,
Yeah.
So like, she's like, well, I really want to do it. And I said, well, you can, but just understand, like, it's not that you're setting yourself up for failure. Just tell them the process that it takes you to get there. And that usually has to do with you shooting. And if you're not in that equation, then they can't expect to get what you're giving them. So put that in the contract,
Exactly.
And that's where I would be like, if Peter would have told me that, hey, he's going to do a documentary with Angel and Airwaves, I'd be like, damn, that's dope.
I wonder what made them go with him. Just like he just do. I hate to say it, but
who knows? I mean,
he's a YouTuber, and this is not like to degrade him or say YouTubers can't shoot, but it's like, is it because they don't really understand that there's different worlds?
I think so. I think that he was kind of, Peter McKinnon was propelled into a pedestal of just like being able to do really cool stuff. And like, I think it's rightfully deserved in its own right that it lives on YouTube, but where the world is actually going to YouTube. Like, dude, the highest, like the biggest music videos, where do they get their fame? YouTube, and it's music videos, even some of these films and the documentaries, like the biggest place is YouTube. So having a YouTuber that has like 6 or 7 million followers, subscribers or whatever.
I think that's the disconnect. You look at his videos for YouTube, but you don't understand just because a documentary is being put on YouTube, it was not shot with YouTube in perspective. It just know that that's the channel to put it on,
Right.
Think about it this way. What's a good doc? Angels and Airways? Oh, dude, that sounds dope. Now look at this. Peter McKinnon video. It's going to get a lot of views. Mm-hmm. How about an Angels and Airways doc by Peter McKinnon?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a lot of views. There you go.
Waiting for it.
Well, I've found with my films, when they're not going well, what it takes is my concerted attention. I just need to clear my schedule. I need to say that this film is a client, even if I'm not getting paid for it. Like the analogy I have is a documentary is like a boulder on a hill. You're not working on it, it's going backwards. You're losing momentum. And if you're just working on it every once in a while, you're just holding it in place.
I've been holding it in place.
You've
for
just
a
been
while.
exactly. And the film,
it's sorry to cut you off. It's hard because you've got a lot of fans of Angels and Airwaves. I'm one of them, and they want to see this. I want to give it to them. There's just like the pandemic happened that threw like a big wrench in it, and the amount of time it's taken.
That's the biggest excuse. Like we say that with the feature film right now. Like it should have been distributed already, but pandemic happened, and I think it's going to be an excuse that's going to be around for at least another 2 or 3 years for sure. But a lot of people, when pandemic hit, they like that probably would have been your time to de-stress, move stuff around if you weren't in an area or you're financially successful to put yourself in a cave and get stuff done. For me, I mean, dude, I started up doing Warzone, bro, and I've been killing it now on.
But it's consistency is
but
something.
true. It's consistent,
It's so
bro.
true.
An hour a day, keeps the stress away.
All
All
right.
right.
On that Madden.
in it, and the amount of time it's taken beyond what I kind of just loosely figured it would take has kind of discouraged me.
but you are in such a good position right now. What's so awesome about that is good films, the main character changes and grows and learns new things. And often in life, the only way to learn is to live a bit of life. And
So it's something he said that makes so much sense. So Peter's like, my time, like I'm so worried it's not done yet. But then you look at some of the Kanye doc.
Oh, yeah.
That could have been done 10 years ago,
That's
but
right.
Kanye wouldn't be the Kanye he is now.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like perfect timing. You got to let some of that happen. Don't rush your process is what I basically saying.
Yeah, because if you watch the Kanye one, spoilers on that too, Kanye becomes somebody.
If you didn't know.
If you didn't know. But it goes through all the different, like, just portions of his life. And yeah, man, like, you can see, like, they said literally when the pandemic hit, they're like, this has to get done. You know what I'm saying? Something that's been sitting on the shelf for literally 20 years. They're following him, something like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But one thing that I do like about Peter is that a lot of people think this dude's untouchable, but how genuine he is when he's talking about his life and what he was worried about. Like when I met the dude, he was a super nice guy, very humble. I think at the time he had just got a Red camera, didn't know much like how to use it and stuff. And I think it's the one that they showed earlier. Yeah. But man, like if you look at some of the shots here, I mean, a guy that knows how to shoot can pick up any camera, any glass, and man, they'll make stuff look good.
so you have this awesome moment now with your film where it's taken longer and your characters are going to be learning more things. They're going to be experiencing new ideas.
Life has been unfolding.
Life has been
for
unfolding,
years.
and that's okay. And it's okay to feel overwhelmed in the middle of a documentary. That's part of the process. Is you have all this content, but the one thing you need to know, Pete, is what question is your film asking?
I think one of the issues that I've also had is I shot it for a year, and then the pandemic kind of forced me to take 2 years off. Then I got back to it. So if you actually remove the pandemic from it, I've probably only been working on it for less than 2 years with the pandemic gone. But with all this time, it's filled my head with so many different ideas that the theme that I originally had is like good, but maybe now I've got a different idea. And then life unfolded and now I've got like 5 ideas. And now when you said to me, you came in, one of the first things you said was like, well, what like question does it answer? You asked me a couple one-word questions. Like if you could summarize it into like the core theme, like what is that? And I was like, well, if I was to break it into 2, like I couldn't even, I had to take that lifeline immediately.
Yep. And I think the fear with making films is when we simplify the idea behind it or simplify our film into one sentence, one question, there's this fear that it's not going to be good. It's not going to be big. But when you do that, it gives you focus to get to the goal, and then you get to add all the fun stuff in, but you have direction. If you want to simplify a film, what is a good doc? You have a question, and then you explore the answers, and then you celebrate the resolve or lack thereof.
Okay, well, we're working on like whenever somebody comes up to me with an idea, we do it all the time. Is okay, what's your ending? I'm like, I don't know. I was like, no, dude, if you don't know where you're going, then you don't know where to start. It's like, let's talk about Lord of the Rings again. It's like, where are they going? Mordor. So now they know what they got to do. They got to do it, all right? So when you know your ending, when you know what your end goal is, then that things can change on the way. But as long as you know an ending, now you'd have a path to take.
Yeah, he should have definitely gone to Angel and Airwaves and been like, okay, this is where you start the heroin addiction.
And who knows when you end, but it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great, dude. Great. You're gonna drop. You're gonna lose your teeth, lose a lot of weight, you know. But then we'll have a redemption story that will happen in 2 years. We're good. All right, let's do it.
Really, what you need is a character who wants something. And so if you can't define, this is what the first thing I always ask people with their documentaries, who's your main character? And they're like, well, it's about poverty. I'm like, well, then you don't have a film, you have a topic. And then from there, I'm like, find the character in that. Who is it? Is it about someone who's experiencing poverty or who's trying to solve poverty in their town? The next question, what do they want? If you don't have a character who wants something, you don't really have someone who's trying to answer a question. And so you need a character who's actually asking a question. Can I solve poverty in my town? Or can, in the case of your film, you know, can I reinvent myself? And then that question will guide you to know what to film. Otherwise, you'll have 100 hours of footage and you won't know what to cut.
Yeah, like we got a lot of live footage.
Yeah.
And like the more of those questions I answer myself,
That's Tom DeLonge.
I
He doesn't
also
have to answer.
realize,
Sorry.
wow, I've got a lot of stuff I just don't need. Like I don't even need to go through a lot of it. I'm at the point.
How many times have we been on a project where they're like, let's get this shot, and we're just looking at each other with like, we already got that. We already got that.
Every time.
We already got that.
Yeah, this music video we just worked on, like the dude walks up to me, he's like, okay, hey, I want you to get all the close-ups of the feet and then like get some of his back. I say, yeah, I got all that stuff. He's like, for real? He's like, yeah, I play it back, and I'm like just scrubbing through it and goes, okay, yeah, we're good. You know? I was like, yeah, bro, don't worry about that. We got what I know you're ultimately gonna need in B-roll. A lot of people, what's funny, like the way that we shoot, a lot of times like the clips you get, you've seen this, right? The clips you get are a lot shorter, but like all the shots are usable. You know what I'm saying? Where I've been with other people where they just shoot, and I go through and I'm like, bro, none of this stuff is usable. Maybe like 2 or 3 shots, you know? So yeah, I mean, he pretty much, Mark Bowen's pretty much like telling him, like schooling him here, like, bro, did you really need to shoot all that stuff? You know, like if you don't have a purpose, you know, what are you shooting for?
Get caught up in the cool, man.
Let's try it.
Very, very little.
Cool will kill your film, because this is what we've shot photos and then they look cool, and then we're like, oh, maybe I should get into videography, and then we shoot some commercials that look cool, and then we're like, hey, I'm a filmmaker. Then we apply that to documentary and it doesn't work, because you just have all this cool footage.
Bro, he literally just told Peter McKinnon his career, which is kind of messed up, and it's in his face. But for him to leave it that way, leave it in the film, tells you that
it's true.
It's not only that it's true, but he understands the situation he is currently in, and that realizing those kinds of things makes you an even better filmmaker. Like that's the reality of it.
That's not answering any question. And then you don't have a film, you just have a very long music video. And there's a reason why music videos are 4 minutes long. Then if you just add cool footage and people talking about random things, then you have a really boring 40-minute film.
So funny that popping up that way, but after being told that and then putting yourself at that level, just psychologically tells you like I was just made to feel very small. He probably didn't intentionally do that. Maybe.
I mean, I think he just was keeping it real, and it pops out sometimes. The truth will prevail.
That's right. All right, so let's go back to this.
Wait, who is he sponsored by?
Yeah, I care.
Are we a podcast? Watching a podcast right now?
I don't know what's
I'm confused.
happening. Yeah, we're yeah, but pretty much, I think this is really what I wanted to show, anyways. I think
is this a podcast?
For the rest of it, it doesn't really matter. The bulk of what I saw that I thought was important for us to talk about was there because
that was the gym.
Yeah, because of like we said earlier, if someone's giving you a job, but that's not what you have even in your description as someone that's looking for a job, like you probably shouldn't take it. And if you do take it, like being wise about it, like what happens here is that he's probably made a lot of money on this thing, but now he's probably at the point where he's losing money because he probably got the bulk of the money up front. And it was like, yeah, let's shoot anamorphics. Let's do this and that. And let's go to all the tours and let's follow you for this many months. And now it's like, oh, I got to edit. And like, they only owe me 25%. And like, what am I going to do, at this point?
And then you find out what you had to edit is not even enough. So now you got to go back out with the money that's already spent.
Yeah. And to be true to the fans and be true to the artists and be true to them, you need to go back to the drawing board and just like figure it out. And I'm sure you can use a bunch of this stuff for for all kinds of different promos and things that they got. But I mean, really, they could have shot. They could have just got someone touring with them or doing BTS for them, with the nice camera.
Yeah, we were watching that earlier, right? We were watching the Juice World doc.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and how, man, this is pretty good. It's an insight into their life, right? We know their music, like, man, let's play their music, all that stuff. But what's crazy is that docs on a lot of musicians, you really don't even got to play their music that much,
right?
Because you already know them through their music, and that's like you have the rights to all their music to play them, but doesn't mean you really have to play them as much, dude. You can put them as the person, and people get more of an insight of that. Because really, if you want to listen to their music, you go to whatever music streaming site.
And the archival footage is awesome, like the Kanye stuff, bro. You haven't seen it yet, right?
Not entirely. No.
Man, that whole just the archive of that dude walks in doing the Jesus Walk song 2.5, 3 years before it blew up, showing it to one of the lead people at I forgot what record label, and he was just going off, doing this on the side, and they were just took a call right in front of him. You know what I'm saying? And he was literally dude, people are gonna be bouncing to this in the club. They're gonna be singing Jesus Walks in the club. And sure enough, he was right.
It lets you know how so farsight of him, that's what gives you a lot of insight.
But to hear it, to see him writing the raps, writing the rhymes, being on the mic, and this is the verse that you actually hear put on the track. They did that several times when it's him in the booth, and then you're hearing the real song, and then it's the music video, and then it's him on the tour, and but they just jump through all that, and that just shows passage of time, and it just it's crazy. But I mean, this is really cool. What I really liked was how vulnerable Peter McKinnon made himself here, and even if he didn't mean to, on his end, this is the growth of a person, the growth of a filmmaker. Because for us, just realistically, you have to be able to pull yourself back and see where you're going before you do it. And if you can't criticize or have people criticize your work, this is not the field you're not gonna do well in this field at all, because this is a subjective field. And even some of the stuff that I think is the dopest, I've had people just crap all over it. And I remember once a while back that someone came from New York, and we're from Houston, so we don't come from a big film town. Houston isn't known as a film town. And I went to a media production school, learning TV. And this person came that was from NYU. They went through the New York Film Academy and all that stuff.
School,
yeah, and they did all that stuff. And when they came in, they saw my reel. They were renting stuff from me, which something else that we do. And they looked at my reel, and my reel actually looked really dope even at that time. And to me, it looked dope. But people were hiring me, And this person, they're from the Film Academy, and they had just graduated, and they're here shooting a feature. And they started questioning my framing and the composition and all that. And I really enjoyed that, because I was like, okay, this is someone that just came fresh from the academy. They paid, I don't know, $40,000, $50,000 a year just to be there.
Yeah.
And this is me getting at least their viewpoint as someone that went to the academy. And I could have left with something, I could have been angry, man, these people, who do they think they are? But honestly, that helped me. I was like, okay, yeah, man, I can work on all that stuff. My next reel is going to be crazy then, and you kind of have to have that mindset when you're doing stuff.
I mean, dude, very subjective. You could make Citizen Kane, which is considered by many a great film, and then at the end of the day, someone's going to be like, this movie sucks.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
Yeah, anything you think of or you see here?
No, same thing you said. I'm glad he humble enough to be to show us hey, even though I got all these accolades and plaques and YouTube views, that I still don't know everything, because that's how some kids feel. I meet guys who that's what they watch is YouTube, and it's Peter, and it's y'all gotta understand, Peter is one way, but where you want to go may be a whole different way.
Yeah.
Just because you say you want YouTube, but you want to be a filmmaker, you got to know that's what's different,
Yeah.
I mean, we all had to figure that out once we do certain things.
Yeah, and you have to figure it out. Well, once again, guys, this is us just reacting to some of the cool stuff that we see here. Thank you guys for checking it out. Like, subscribe. And we also have some merch that's coming out, which helps us fund some of these things. So if you guys can go ahead and go cop something, get something dope, we really appreciate it. All right, guys, have a good one.
Much love.
Peace.